When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That you might work, ayy. When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That you might work, ayy. That you might work.
Welcome back to another episode of the Michel Matters Podcast. I'm Jocks Michel.
And I'm Jackie Michelle.
Welcome back.
Hey, guys.
Episode number 62.
Yeah.
Let's get it started. I guess just to intro everybody back in, what's been going on the last 2 weeks?
I don't remember all of it, but I feel like we had a good time spending time with your family. A lot of people came down for your grandma's funeral. Mm-hmm. And then we had the repast at our house. And so some people came from out of town, and it was really good seeing them. Like the next day, we went to the pool and we just hung out, which was nice. Your parents' birthdays.
Yeah.
Both of them.
I think, of the last 2 weeks, this probably was the highlight. Like, it's a lot of birthdays in June. I feel like we've been celebrating as much as we can, especially, with everything that's going on. Any moment you can to celebrate, you got to take it.
Right.
So it started with our friend's birthday. I shout her out, listener, Giselle. We celebrated her birthday.
We actually went out the house.
Yeah.
To celebrate her birthday.
Yeah, so that was different. It was good though. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And then she actually has the same birthday as my dad. And we celebrated his birthday first, now I think about it.
Yeah, because family was here.
Yeah, so we celebrated the day before with family. And then we celebrated her the next day. And then in the same week is also my mother's birthday and Jackie's dad's birthday.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure I don't miss anybody.
And my sister.
Oh, and your sister and Jackie's sister. So, wow, okay. So, Jackie's sister, my dad, and Giselle, I don't know why I threw in there, but had the same birthday. And then my mom and Jackie's dad are 2 days apart in the same week. So, yeah, man, it's been a lot of that. I actually took a shot with my mom. That was...
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I got my mom to take a shot of Douce. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that was fun. I always like seeing your mom drink something because she just acts different.
She didn't talk the rest of the night.
Yeah, she's a very calm person when she drinks.
Like, she took the shot and then she was like, oh my gosh, it burned. She sat down and I don't feel like she was just like collecting herself the rest of the night.
Yeah, and that's not like her. She's always turned up.
So yeah.
I also finally put up the vlog that I have been talking about for episodes upon episodes. It's just snippets of us during quarantine.
Yeah.
So you can tune in and see what we've been up to, at least for the first 3 weeks of quarantine. We definitely need to update after all of that, because since then we've got, stuck in protests and traffic and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'll be vlogging anytime soon, because things are starting to pick up and we're trying to get involved in different ways. So we'll see. But that video is up, so you can check out the link that I'll put up here somewhere. Did you get any comments before or after our We'll Rise Up episode?
Before, I got just the one comment that that someone, was really, or that someone was interested in hearing our opinion on just everything that's going on. I think I mentioned in the last episode, it kind of helped motivate me to get up to do it. Since the episodes dropped, I've heard, I thank everybody who reached out to me about my grandma. If you found out through the podcast, I didn't really like posting on socials or anything until after the funeral, just because I never know what to do during stuff like that. So I just kind of keep it to myself, stay low. But I appreciate everybody for that. But yeah, I mean, people just told me that they listened, that they thought it was good. But I guess, did you get anything?
Yeah, so someone afterwards did tell us that, or text me to tell us that they enjoy our podcasts and just to keep doing our good work, I guess. And that was nice to hear.
Yeah.
I know somebody said you snap.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I did because after we record the podcast, I don't listen to them.
But it was valid.
I edit, like I just clean up the sound and I don't listen to the podcast just because I don't know, somebody sounded my voice on like listening to it after. And I mean, I was there, so I typically know what I said.
Right.
But as far as like my mannerism, my behavior, I don't know. I may have been a little excited, but I guess all due reason.
Yeah, it's warranted. And I don't know. I guess because when somebody told you before we did the episode that they were interested in our thoughts, like it's nice, right, to hear that. But I think it's also like you should expect to hear our thoughts on what's going on at this point. Like we don't hold back on what's going on in current times. So yeah, I don't know. It's like
for me, it's just
we're two Black people,
so
we're going to talk about Black things. Like that's this platform.
Yeah, for me, it's just the long formness of it. Is like if we didn't have the podcast, would people hear our voice? And I mean, you can only get so much out of me, like in a tweet or in an Instagram story post or whatever. Like that can only encapsulate so much of what people are feeling. And even in an hour-long podcast episode, I feel like that's only like a snippet of what we would have to say.
For sure.
And I think for one, I not regret, but like sometimes I don't look forward to having those conversations, right? I don't look forward to expressing myself on certain things. But in the same breath, it's also sometimes it's a good outlet to get stuff out and just to give hopefully a different perspective than what people are used to. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily biased, or I'm unbiased. I definitely feel like I have. Everyone has their biases.
Yes.
But it's just the way that we interpolate them, the way we get our message out that I hope people find intriguing and can learn from. So
yeah. But yeah, I wanted to know your feedback on that. I just think it's nice to know after almost 3 years that this platform hasn't gone to waste. Because in the beginning it was like, okay, well, why are we doing this? But it's because we haven't heard from people like us.
Yeah.
I mean, we have conversations with people like us all the time. But let's be a part of the conversation. Let's be out there too. I mean, you don't have to be surprised that we're going to talk about Black things. I think out of, you said 60 episodes? 62 episodes. Probably like 10 episodes were businesses that we spotlighted on that were not Black owned.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to circulate the Black dollar. We're always going to try to put Black voices out there. We have guests that come on who are mainly Black.
Yeah.
That talk about buying real estate, that talk about parenting today and raising kids, raising Black boys. Where my cousins came on and she almost she cried. She cried talking about she cried talking about raising her son. And at the time he was probably only like 1.
Yeah, 1 or 2. He was young.
Because we know what happens to Black men in this country. So yeah, I say all that to say, you don't have to worry about us highlighting the issues, because if it's going on, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
So you can subscribe and rate us on iTunes. You can leave comments on SoundCloud, on Instagram, at Michel Matters.
Yeah.
And what else?
Oh, and you can always reach out to me on Twitter at Coach_JOX.
True, because I'm not on Twitter. And if you want to support the podcast, you can check out our sponsors. We'll provide the link below on our website.
Oh, yeah.
So let's move on.
All right. All right. So, last episode's Michel Matter, we kind of gave you just our thoughts on exactly what was going on. It just was very, open-ended also. Like, we didn't really get to go deeper than that. We kind of just opened up and let you guys know how we felt. So this episode, we kind of wanted to, like, progress the discussion, go further in the dialogue, and talk about just for ourselves, what the next steps are. Because, I mean, after, you get out your emotions, you protest, you post, there will be a time where, things settle down, things kind of die down a little bit. Like, what happens after that? Because so many times we've seen this, it's cyclical. Like, an event happens, there's protest, there's, an uproar, there's an increase in wokeness, and then it settles down, it dies down, and then something happens again, and it's like that ebb and flow. But, like, how do we kind of, like, ramp it up? Because I think there's momentum here to kind of move and do something different, kind of change that narrative a little bit, that we only get mad when things happen, we only do stuff when things happen. So that's kind of what we've been thinking about. This is kind of what we've been working on. So we're going to get into that a little bit. So what do you want to start with?
Well, I did want to point out that, like, protests are not letting up.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I feel like typically when this happens, at this point, you don't really hear about protests anymore. Yeah. And this is everywhere. Like, protests all over the world. So even in South Florida, there were protests every day last week. Because I think I was on local10 or something.com, and they were basically breaking down all the protests every day if you want to attend, and that's just the ones that they knew about. And sometimes there were like 2 protests a day. So that's from like Miami-Dade County all the way to the Palm Beaches. And I was just like, this is so interesting. But, like, this is good.
Yeah.
Like,
I stand behind, like, kind of keeping our foot on the gas here. Like, don't let up. And I mean, I see it even from we have one of my, personal friends. Like, he's a police officer, and he works on the unit where they deal with, protests and stuff. And he hasn't had a day off in 3 weeks, I think going on a month now.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that he's having to work this much, but at the same time,
is it unfortunate?
Yeah, it is. I mean,
you need a day off, but it's not unfortunate to be making money during pandemic. It's fortunate that he said, like, there have been no problems.
Yeah, it's been peaceful, but this is what I'm saying. But at the same time, it is a degree, like, man, there's a little bit of unrest still. Police officers are on edge.
For sure.
There's still tension there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that's easy to deal with. But at the same time, I guess, change isn't easy. Things don't come with ease or comfortability. But at the same time, I do have compassion for people in LA.
For sure.
So yeah. And another thing that I feel like also hasn't that hasn't slowed down is the level of, like, information that's being spread, like, on the internet.
Yeah.
And I think a big reason why things haven't slowed down is because things haven't stopped either. Like,
what do you mean?
I mean, they still haven't arrested the police officers that killed Breonna Taylor.
Right.
There was a man who was killed at the Wendy's just this past week, and it's like, how can you stop?
Yeah.
And it's difficult.
I think because I've been seeing some interesting ways that people are getting information out on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this thing called, I want to say share the mic or pass the mic or something like that, where basically a black influencer or celebrity and a white influencer or celebrity share their platform with each other.
Okay.
So, because obviously their markets or fans are different.
Yeah.
So, and I saw some big names. Like, I even saw, like, she's problematic, but Kim Kardashian was sharing the mic with someone else. I don't know. There was a lot of people on that sheet, but it was really interesting because those people would never mash up.
Yeah.
So, like, they would share their lives or whatever, just to get the word out to their different fan bases. And I thought that was great. Yeah.
I think a lot of times, and this is one of the positives of like the information and technology, is that a lot of these stories were not highlighted just because there were periods of time where the earth was like so much farther apart, but the internet has like flattened the curve. Like we can get out a message that happened in South Carolina all the way across to California within a tweet. Right. And it can be spread through retweets and like just the way that like Twitter uses the analytic impressions and like how many impressions you can get just through a retweet. Like if you have 30 followers, but the next person that retweets that has like 100 followers, like messages can spread so quickly. And I think that's amazing. So the idea that, man, things that may have like slipped through the cracks now can be amplified. We can talk about these things and it's posted. The squeakiest wheel gets the grease.
Yeah. That's like the post that I shared with you. So from Bear Reverie.
Okay. Yeah.
There's this girl. I don't know this girl. I don't know where a lot of these followers are coming from. Mm-hmm. Most of them are white that I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. So one girl commented on another influencer's post, like, hey, instead of sharing your outfit from Victoria's Secret, why don't you share lingerie from someone who actually cares about Black people? And I was like, whoa, what is happening?
Yeah.
I didn't even reply because I was like, nah, I'm not getting involved. But I was just like, hey, that's your form of activism. Do what you gotta do, sis. But
2 cells.
It was interesting.
So I think that's really important is to constantly spread the word, take advantage of the information and the tools that we have. The internet is powerful. We've seen it. We've seen how much like someone can do something and the whole like you about to lose your job. Like literally that can happen. That is the power of the internet.
Yeah. That
someone can do something and if we report it, if we put it out there, someone's going to find their name, someone's going to find their employer, and things can happen. Like, there is power. And I know a lot of times the internet gets, that bad rap, that millennials get a bad rap that, we live and die on the internet, but there's power there. There's something there. So spreading the word is definitely going to be important.
For sure. And you can't spread the word if you don't know what you're talking about. So you've been watching a lot of documentaries and doing your research on things. What have you been watching?
Man, and once again, it's the internet, right? Literally, because, and it's one thing I don't like, or when people want to teach you about something or tell you about something, they kind of feel like they have to diminish you at the same time. Like, oh, how do you not know about such and such? Or there's this whole thing like, watch how many people are going to celebrate Juneteenth this year. And the thing about it is, for most of us, I would say, we don't learn about these things in school.
Yeah. We don't.
The majority of information that I have, like, on Black history in general comes from, like, my curiosity, or just, like, I hear someone mention something in passing, or I see, like, a random Twitter post, and it's like, oh, let me do more research into it. It's like, to not be afraid to share the knowledge, but but at the same time not diminish people when you are teaching them something or telling them, or they don't know something that you quote unquote think they should know. I think that is where we can definitely grow as a people, is like, each one teach one. I had a conversation this weekend about Juneteenth with someone, and it was like this idea that, man, I had no idea about June. Like, I learned about Juneteenth, I would say 4 to 5 years ago, through a mutual friend, and it was to me, that's important history.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know it if you just read what they give you in our history books.
Right.
So it's just like passing on that information and trying to figure out what we should know. So definitely for me, as far as like education for me, I typically do a couple things. I'm big on documentaries, podcasts. So for me, like 2 podcasts that I listen to a decent amount are Code Switch. That's an NPR podcast. It just pretty much just talks about race. And a new one that I've been listening to is called Black History Year. And they basically just kind of go over a lot of the stories and topics that you're not going to learn in school.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I think that's where we can grow. We can understand where a lot of the gaps are. Like, we don't understand exactly, like, yes, slavery happened. Yes, civil rights happened. But there are different points and times in history where you can see where the system was not created. Like, people say that, but what does that mean, that the system was not created for Black people and how Black people are oppressed? So anyone who's, like, wanting to get to know more about stuff like that, it's going to take digging. It's going to take research and study. So I think those are definitely 2 really good podcasts to look into.
Yeah. You can even look at documentaries centered on your city. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think I purchased this DVD a long time ago. But now it's on Prime Video. So I watched it again the other day. And I completely forgot the exact title. But it's like basically
Black in Miami or something like that.
Yeah. And so it was just talking about a lot of just history that you wouldn't know if you came to Miami today.
Mm-hmm.
That, a lot of Blacks lived in Coconut Grove. That's not foreign. But if you go there now, you don't see a lot of Blacks there. Or how I-95 kind of ripped apart Overtown, or how Wet Foot, Dry Foot, was kind of discriminatory against Haitians mainly. Like, things like that obviously we know because we grew up here. But when you actually see from the start of Miami being like a city to today, what kind of made it what it was is really is interesting. And you see how that system is kind of at play there. But I kind of want to dig into like Tulsa next and like just different cities where I know unrest has been, involved in the Black communities that we didn't learn about.
No.
And you're not going to know unless you dig and find out for yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. But yeah, Tulsa is definitely one of those.
Yeah, and it's just things like that. It's like looking, and I guess you have to be intentional in looking for different things. Today, I watched a video on, it's a place called Seneca Village. Seneca Village was a Black community that resided in what is now Central Park. And it talks about how Seneca Village was, I guess, pretty much taken from Black people to create Central Park. And it's, maybe people in New York know stories like that,
right?
But it's now the spread of it, right? And the more information we have, the more we can, I guess, try to find like ways to correct certain like injustices or systematic things. It's the idea like of the systematic oppression. Yeah. You have to know the system. To understand the system, you have to know the history. And taking the time to do that research is really going to help.
Yeah. And that's not only, obviously we're talking about Black culture right now, but like even when people started finding out like, oh, Thanksgiving isn't really what it is. You got to start digging into other cultures too. Like, it can't just be, okay, we're only gonna, talk about this or whatever. Like, dig into everything. Like, question everything that you've learned, pretty much.
It's literally the unlearn and relearn?
Yeah.
That concept. And yes, Martin Luther King's quote is, a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Yeah. And it's also that notion that our focus right now is within the Black community, but as a whole, to be right as a country, we have to address all of it.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of us out here.
Indigenous people, Hispanic people, the Asian community. It's across the board. Having that compassion and empathy for other people's plights is necessary to be what we are, or what we hope to be, what we
say we are.
Like I had a conversation, not a conversation. It wasn't a conversation. It was someone posted on Facebook about banning.
I don't even know how you go.
Yeah, I did it to myself, right? They posted about banning NASCAR in their house, because they felt like it was whatever discriminatory, and oppressive almost, that they were removing the Confederate flag. And I mean, I'm not going to give my whole response, but part of it was the idea that, man, that flag is literally contrary to what the U.S. flag stands for. This one that you get so mad about when people kneel and disrespect your flag. Like, the Confederate flag is a symbol of that.
Yeah.
It's a symbol of literally disrespecting that flag. But when you hold on to your ideals or your traditions and symbols more than you care about literally like people, like you don't even see where you've gone wrong in that way. I just think that's crazy. But yeah, and I usually don't get into the back and forth with people on the internet. But that one, like, that's
it's
a person.
Not usual, but it happens.
Yeah, I don't usually do it.
Okay.
But because I try not to. I don't feel like you can have a real discourse on the internet like that. But it's, and I guess that also touches a point that we talked about, is like, sometimes you got to have those difficult conversations with people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is another thing that can attempt to progress the dialogue as a next step. Like, I've seen a lot of people talking about, like, how can, white people, what can we do to help? And I think a lot of it is,
you didn't get any of those texts.
I didn't.
Fortunate.
I didn't, but you did.
I did.
And I think one of the main things, but even other people I've seen that have gotten the question has been like, a good place to start might be your own house.
Yeah.
It might be Thanksgiving. It might be...
Might be your uncle who says some things.
You know what I'm saying? Like there, if you want to really progress the dialogue, it could start there.
Yeah.
And I know that can be divisive. It can be a tough conversation. But a lot of times people get caught in their own, like, personal web of, like, their community or say you only listen to Fox News, or you only listen to CNN. If you only have one form of point of view that's coming your way, it's easy to just get lost in that. But sometimes that needs to get challenged. And hopefully it's somebody that loves you and respects you and will take the time to listen to you in that way, that it's like, I'm not saying this because I'm some, snowflake or some hippie, but, like, as someone who you know and love, like, I don't see this the same way that you do.
Right.
And hopefully you take the time to hear me and understand where I'm coming from on this issue. So.
Yeah. Again, it's about challenging each other.
Yeah.
In that way. Even if it's your church. So I mean, we've had to have, some sidebar conversations with people at our church even. And so we've mentioned this before, that we attend a multicultural church. And I don't think it's by happenstance. I think what?
I mean, like,
you would choose to go to a black church on purpose?
Oh, you're asking me that now?
Yeah.
I
completely get why people do. I feel like that's not an accurate representation of heaven, though.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not trying to bring heaven out here on earth, but I'm just saying, if that's what it's going to be like, then why not try to figure out, like, what is this whole thing about? Like, let's try to figure this out together. So I feel like this is a purposeful thing as a family that we decided to attend a multicultural church. But yeah, there are some people that you're going to have to challenge, and that are going to challenge you too.
For me, this is like a very like personal mission field. I think, and
that's regardless of race.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Not all people understand.
The thing about the church for me, it's one of those things, like, for me, when you become a Christian, one of the big things is like you accept this responsibility, like, man, I see what Christ has done for my life. Imagine if other people could have that same experience. Like, you should want other people to have that same experience. Part of being a Christian incorporates this idea that we are to love our neighbor, and then it's just, I'm on this, like, what does that look like, right? And so many people, they talk about how, especially like during protests and anytime there's all this civil unrest, they're like, man, Martin Luther King would never, or why aren't you guys more like Martin Luther King?
Yeah.
But it's the idea that, like, the things that Martin Luther King did stemmed from his biblical point of view.
Yeah.
And he used the church to
from the church.
Like, the feet of the civil rights movement was the church.
Right.
And the church has taken a step back from that. And I feel like we've done a disservice.
The non-black church.
Yes. Which is the majority church in the United States.
Correct. But I just want to make sure, because some people are like, nah, my church.
Okay, when I speak of
my church is having protests.
When I speak of the church,
we know.
I speak of the capital C church, the larger body of believers as a whole. And it's this concept, like, man, even the little things where it's like the kneeling of the flag, which was the kneeling during the national anthem, which was a peaceful protest. But I feel like more people would rather stand on the outside and tell him how he's doing what he's doing is wrong, rather than step in with him and show him, if you feel like it's wrong, what is the correct way to do this?
Me.
Don't just tell me because especially once people understood what he was kneeling for, what Colin Kaepernick, give names to movement, what Colin Kaepernick was kneeling for was against things like police brutality. Right. Things that we're seeing exploding now. And it's like the NFL now put out a statement like, oh my goodness, we should have listened. And it's like, come on. That's, to me, it's disrespect. That's a slap in the face. And as a church, it's like, I kind of feel like we're in the same space right now.
Yeah.
Oh man, we should have listened. And it's this idea that, man, the church as a whole has sat back for so long and said how maybe these people like Black Lives Matter is not doing it the right way, or Martin Luther King would never. Okay, then Martin Luther King Jr. is dead.
But also he did. So, like, what are you talking about?
But the idea of, like, looting and rioting, like, Martin Luther King did not promote such activity. Right. But it's like, if you feel so compelled to comment, I feel like you should be so compelled to embrace that struggle and be in there with them. And if you feel like that's not the right way, then lead by example.
Yeah.
What is the proper way?
Right.
Because
if Martin Luther King's way is the proper way, we also have to examine that he still got shot at the end of the day. Like, so to you, how do you feel, because you have so many opinions, how do you feel this should go in order to yield results in your eyes? And let's do it together.
And that's where I am right now personally, is that there is a necessary component of Christianity to address certain issues.
For sure.
And I would love to be a part of that positive change, that renewal of the, and it starts there, right? Yeah. It's like, I'm going to start with my local body. And I don't believe that my local church by itself is going to solve racism.
Right.
But it's one, fulfilling the biblical mandate to speak out on certain issues. And hopefully that encourages another church, and our pastor reaches out to another pastor, and the mindset grows to a point where it's not, it has to be the body of believers. And if, I don't know what percentage of the United States professes to be Christian, but it's a lot. Imagine if we all lived it out, what that would look like. Yeah. And look, I know it's not an easy task. This is probably not the first attempt, but for me, as a next step in progressing that dialogue, and it's the idea also that it's not just, it doesn't stop here either. Like, racism is not the only problem, and it's this idea that, man, we can't fix everything, but we have to fix some things, right? Yeah, like, we have to try
on all the things.
and that's where I'm at. It's like, yeah, there are other sins that are plaguing the world. We will deal with those as well. Yeah. Like, that's never stopped us from preaching against certain topics.
Right.
I don't think the fact that there's other sins in the world should stop us from preaching against racial injustice, and doing something about it.
Yeah.
Like, we don't just pray that abortion goes away, or, like, people literally vote with that in mind. Mm-hmm. And it's the idea, like, we cannot be one issue people. We cannot be some sin people.
Yeah.
The things that we care about as Christians, not a la carte. You can't just pick one thing and, I like that and I like that.
Yeah.
It is the buffet. It is the gamut of things that we need to address. Right. But
so that's your battlefield, I feel like, because I mean, we can talk about women in the church at a separate time too, but I just feel like you could handle that part. Mine is like getting involved in our community. That's national and municipal, but obviously right now just our community. So, and we have also like friends who are wanting to get more involved. Mm-hmm. So I've mentioned in this podcast, like several episodes ago, that I have attended a lot of meetings in the community and stuff like that. And it's just like, because I'm curious, like I live here, so what's going on? But like, because we have friends, at least in South Florida, we have friends in North Bay Village, in North Miami, in Miami-Dade, in Fort Lauderdale. Like, if we can all get involved, if that's your ministry, if we can all get involved in some capacity in our cities, like, what you do or what North Bay Village does has no effect on me because I don't live there. Mm. But at least if you speak out, you know, and you tell me, oh, this is working here, maybe you can take this to your city in your meetings and challenge your commissioners, then I can be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, we don't do this over here, right? So just to have, like, your group of people, I guess, like-minded people or people who are just trying to challenge everybody and trying to get involved in their different places that they live, to just kind of make it better.
Yeah.
is another challenge. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to run for a seat. You can literally just help at the voting polls, or help at your local community garden, or help, you know, or go to your commission meetings.
I think ask a question. Those are the big ones to me.
Yeah.
If anything I learned during COVID is that local elections matter. From things to like how they handle COVID to how they handle even the protest. Your local elections matter, and we need to take more pride and more accountability in researching and learning about the judges that are appointed, the mayors, the people who are quote unquote here to represent you. The idea that we should be able to reach out to our local council person and say, hey, I have a problem with this. This is literally what you are here to do. And for sure, there's a big thing, like there's strength in numbers. There's a difference between if I email my councilwoman versus my whole block emails the councilwoman. Right. And it's taking pride in where you live, and what goes on there. One of the big things is going to happen in all of these cases whether it's George Floyd or even like when there's a Trayvon Martin, it's the idea that they are going to go to a court somewhere. They're going to stand in front of a judge that was appointed. As citizens, we put these people into office, and we should take more pride and accountability in who's there, who your chief of police is. Because these are the people that we call to be fired when things go wrong. Right. These are the people who hold accountable. But at the same time, it's like, man, but you selected this person. You know what I mean? Like, having more say-so in that process. If anything, I've learned that how much that matters at a time like this. What it looks like to have a good mayor or governor is important. And local elections really, really matter. So for me, things like even just the basics, registering to vote, learning about the different candidates, knowing when elections are, like things like that matter now. Yeah. They always matter. I'm not going to say they matter now. They've always mattered. But I think we have to take more accountability in that. For sure. Yeah. Literally, our vote matters. Our opinion matters. And when we understand the power that we have in that, I mean, other communities have used it to their advantage. And I think it's on us now to take that next step.
Yeah. I also wrote here, like, supporting local businesses. And that's not just buying from them. But that can also be, okay, so if you live on this block and this is your, laundromat or whatever, and they're within a plaza, like, continue to build relationships within your community, even with the business owners. Yeah. Because, obviously I was reading through one of the meeting minutes for our city, and they were building a fast food restaurant in a plaza that was owned by somebody, I don't know if he lives around here or not, but he agreed with building that fast food restaurant. But everybody else in the meeting was like, I don't think this is a good idea because we don't have any other healthy, restaurants here. He could have, did something else or whatever. The city was kind of backing them up because obviously there's a commissioner with all of those meetings attached. But if he owns the plaza, he can do what he wants with the plaza. So if he's not ingrained in the community, he's not going to care what you think about building a fast food restaurant on his property. So supporting a local business is not just, okay, yeah, I buy my fried rice over here. Like, it's also like, who are you? Like, where do you live around here? How long have you been here? How has your business been thriving? Who's supporting your business? And obviously, if we're the ones supporting your business in this community, what do you expect from us? And what do you, don't you want to learn what we want out of this community? Because you're a part of it now. So just, questioning everything, getting involved. It's a lot. It is. But it's worth it.
Another important thing that I think should be recognized, especially during this time, is how important, I don't want to limit it, but just for the conversation, how important the black dollar is to our economy. A lot of your favorite brands only made a post or a comment because they were afraid of losing your dollar. I don't believe that everyone who posted a comment or donated money cares. No. But they do care about their bottom line, and they understand what cancel culture can do. And it's the idea, being more mindful of your dollar and who you give your money to, because that's what drives. It drives a lot in this country, even policies, a lot of the policies that we have in this country come from different businesses or different entities who lobbied and gotten things passed because they work to their benefit. These companies get the money to hire lobbyists and to do certain things because of us. When we are more mindful of our dollar, we control more. These people, in a degree, they work for us. Yeah. They do things for us. So definitely being more mindful of the black dollar. I think I was listening to something, I can't remember what it was, that said as a black community, we have like the gross domestic product of, I think it's of Colombia. Like literally, we could run a whole country with the amount of money that we have and generate. And when you understand the power that you have a little bit more respect for yourself. And, you know, you don't always have to keep going to the same beauty supply store that, you know, follows you around the store or disrespects you. You don't have to keep going to the same dollar store or gas station where they treat you poorly because they own things in your community. When we understand the value of our dollar, our way of life can become better because these people work for us. And I think that literacy, that education, as far as, you know, you may think you don't have a lot of money, but the economy is showing you have a lot of money. Maybe not you as a person, right? But you as a group, you have a lot of money. You are not poor. I'm not going to name companies, but a lot of these companies don't post things if they don't think that your dollar meant something. So we have to value our money more. We have to do things like, you know, buying the block, like supporting people, even if it's coming together to buy properties, to do certain things in our own communities. Yeah. Because when you don't, that's when you get the slumlords who come in and buy properties and have you living in substandard living conditions just to get your Section 8 money. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's having that level of responsibility and accountability for yourself and your community. Your community is not limited to your skin color also. Like, it's a lot more than that. And it's just that education. I think that's going to be one of the big things is, like Jackie said, being more involved in our council meetings and encouraging our friends to do the same thing. Yeah. I think that's the bigger thing. Like, it's not cool. I don't think it's cool to be like, oh, you know, I'm my only friend that goes to the council meetings. Like, that's kind of that's not the point. Yeah. The point is to make a difference. You're not going to make a difference by yourself. Encourage your friends to do the same. And that's where we can really make change and see change. Yeah. But, that's good. Yes, ma'am.
How did you feel about, like, some of the companies who've posted stuff and it's just like...
I mean...
Diss you?
Hey, here's my thing, right? Like, what don't come out in the wash come out in the rinse, right? So you think of a company like Starbucks. What? You know, I just be having these old sayings. You think about a company like Starbucks, and they only come back and change policies because people make an uproar, and it's like, all right, so where's your mind really? And then you got companies like Ben & Jerry's. Like, I don't know Ben & Jerry's politics or where they are about black people, but they're doing a really good job of making me think that they care. Yeah. And I appreciate that.
And it's not new.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And that's, look.
If I have never, okay, I have to show Jocks this post and the evidence behind this post. Yeah. So I worked at a company where you would have thought I've never seen a black model in the studio or anything. Never seen a black model in the lookbook. But you know, people on social media challenged this company that I used to work for, that I know was literally like, it was 4 of us, 4 black women who worked there. Like, I would be called Jasmine on any given day. And
you do look like a Jasmine.
Okay, thanks. But all of a sudden they put, you know, the Blackout Tuesday post that everybody was doing, and then a lot of people were like, you need to do better. Like, seriously. Mm-hmm. You know, your outfits cost X amount of dollars and it's the same quality as Target. You know, people always try to comfort people. But then, all of a sudden, you see on the website, black model, top image 1, middle image 2, bottom image 3. I was just like, where does she come from? I've never seen this girl anywhere.
The thing about it, for me, I'm not mad at anyone for jumping in, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time,
it's like when you know.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, it's like, look, I give anybody the flexibility to be like, I was wrong before.
True.
I did not have that, but now I am here with you. My whole thing is, okay, when I check back in with you in a year, your website better be more consistent with what you're doing now than what you were doing, before you were woke or before George Floyd or before Corona. I'm saying we need to hold people accountable. The thing about this, like, the idea that I'm not new to this, I'm true to this, right? Like I can't help caring about this because I've been black for 30 years. I can't help it. Yeah. So I also understand how hard it is. And a lot of people are going really hard right now. But man, there's a level of perseverance necessary to be in this role. And I just want to see if, who got the perseverance, who's really in it for change.
Does that mean you can't use white models ever again? Of course not. But, like, show some, if you want that Hispanic dollar, show that too. If you want the black dollar, show that too. If you want plus-size women to be behind you, show that too. Be inclusive. Like, I don't understand. Why are you only targeting, what is it that makes you only target these people?
It's not a one-time thing. It's not a sometime thing. If we're going to do this, and I think this is across the board, it's, man, we got to be all in. I don't feel like any one person needs to feel like they have to shoulder the whole load and do everything on their own. But we have to start somewhere. We have to start doing something. And it can't stop. Progress doesn't happen like that. Like, you know how long I've been trying to grow a beard? Like, I can't.
Okay.
No?
All right.
Not a good example. All right. So I guess that's how you know I've been going on too long.
Let's move on.
All right. So, on to the business spotlight.
All right.
All right. So, since Jackie wouldn't let me get into talking about my beard in the last segment, I decided we should shout out this new product that I bought. So, like I said, I've been really working on the beard and self-care during quarantine. And one of the things, like in my YouTube videos and everything I've been watching, they've really been promoting the use of a wooden comb or pick for your beard. It's supposed to have like less breakage.
Is it for beards in general or black beards?
I think beards in general. I think it's less breakage. But I guess we have more problems with stuff like that with our beards. So it's universal, I think, among beards, but definitely for sure black beards. They highly, highly recommend using a wood comb. Sandalwood preferably if you're doing your research.
So you had me looking far and wide.
Yeah.
For this comb.
Yeah.
That I was like, I've never seen a wooden comb, honestly.
But they had it at Target.
They do not exist.
They do. They had it at Target.
The one at Target you didn't want.
I didn't want it because I wanted a wider tooth comb. That was wooden. Like on the regular, I use a wide tooth comb. Like we have one here. You had one already.
Yeah, it's plastic.
Exactly, which is not bad. I still kind of use it a little bit because it's a little bit longer than the comb I have now. Whatever, I still kind of use it. But for the initial pick out, I use my wood comb.
Where you got it from?
All right, so there's been like this whole big thing too lately with, I guess the internet went crazy because they found out Cantu wasn't black owned, and it's like
that's like old news.
It is, but the internet always like rehashes stuff and brings stuff back up.
Yeah.
So I actually found a Black-owned business that sold a wide tooth wooden pick. Like, it's perfect. It's called Evan Alexander. Evan Alexander Grooming. I think they're based in Atlanta. And yeah. Hey, man. And on your first purchase, of course, you get your little discount. Right. So it was like free shipping. I was supposed to get it on a Saturday. I got it on a Friday. Everybody knows that's like anytime you order something, when you get it before like the estimated ship date, that's like Christmas, right? So it was literally, so I'm in the shower. I get an email or I get a text because I have like UPS updates. And it was like, your item has been delivered. And I'm like, what? Oh, I was like, it's the pick. So literally, like, I get out the shower. And, I usually do my routine. I was like, nope. Put on the towel. I went to the mailbox. Got the comb. And then went back and did my routine. Just because I was so excited. And, I stand by it. It's a really good comb. Yeah. I definitely feel the difference now. Like,
I might use it when I take my twist out.
When I use the pick, when I used to use the regular plastic comb, when I would pick it out, I would see more hair falling out just because of the way it would pull.
Were you being more careful?
No, I don't think so.
You just did it right.
Yeah, I just just go. But with the new comb, with the new pick, I feel like there's definitely less like breaks, less like pulling on the kinks. It does a better job, getting through the beard. Yeah. So yeah, man, just something light, just a little added to my overall self-care arsenal.
Okay. Do they sell other things or is it?
Yeah. So they definitely sell other things. It's just they sell things like oils and balms and stuff for beards. I think they do like face washes and stuff like that. I may look into that. I need a whole man, this feels crazy, but like I want like a face routine, like a face wash routine. That's besides the topic. But as far as like beard stuff, they do sell other things, but I'm loyal to Shea Moisture. They've been good to me. The Shea Moisture detangler is like top notch. Okay. So yeah. So that's something new to the arsenal. I have the Shea Moisture beard care line, the Naturally Black growth oil. Yeah. And I got the Evan Alexander pick. Nice. So, Okay. And you might get the Evan Alexander face wash or exfoliant or whatever. We'll see. You know how I feel.
All right. Well, that's it.
Oh, and at the same time, sorry. This is not a business spotlight. It's something I actually forgot. I did want to highlight. We celebrated another birthday. It was our friend Terrell's birthday. He just turned 30. Oh. So yeah, that was actually a really good.
That was like a guy's night.
Yeah, it was a guy's night. A nice little get together. So congrats to Terrell. So
congrats on turning 30.
Yes.
It's a big
okay, don't do that.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Happy birthday.
All right. You good?
Yeah.
Another episode in the books. Yes. All right, y'all.
Bye.
Peace. Yeah.
When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That just might work, ayy. When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That just might work, ayy. That just might work. That just might work.